Hello everybody, it's Lorraine Alternative Homesteading on November 1st, 2025. It's Saturday. I hope everybody's doing well. And yes, when I recorded the video for Amy, I said Saturday, October 31st, but that was not right. It was Friday, but today is Saturday, November 1st. I asked ChatGPT to tell me about organized crime in rural communities. It seems to be very relevant, especially since, in Letcher County, the sheriff shot the judge, and it's been a big thing over the better part of the last 9 months. But it happens a lot in rural communities, and there are a lot of reasons why. And, ironically, when I moved here, and I was having the electrical wires run to my house and stuff, there was one of the workers there that I was chatting with, and I don't know where this came from, but he started to tell me a story about something that happened to him. And then he looked me straight in the face and said, organized crime looks different than it did in the past. And I didn't understand why he was telling me that at the time. But maybe he was giving me a heads up about the organized crime here in Jackson County, Kentucky, a rural community of less than 800 people in this small town. Not the county, in the town. So I asked ChatGPT, please tell me about organized crime in rural communities. How is it generally involved? Like how to combat it, how to prove it when adult men are targeting you, when, the local government is involved. So ChatGPT thought for 15 seconds, only 15 seconds. Oh my goodness, I wish I could only think for 15 seconds and pour all of this out, right? This is a heavy, important topic. Thanks for asking. Below I'll summarize how organized, coordinated wrongdoing in rural areas commonly works, who's often involved, practical steps to stop it, and preserve evidence, and how people and agencies normally prove it, including civil remedies like RICO, R-I-C-O. I will cite authoritative sources so you can follow up on it. Number 1, how organized wrongdoing in rural communities often looks. You notice how ChatGPT is cautious not to say organized crime. It says organized wrongdoing. Okay. Common themes in rural areas include title deed fraud and land stealing scams, coordinated trespassing, theft, asset stripping, collusive manipulation of local property processes, extortion, pay-to-leave harassment, illegal dumping or theft of timber minerals, coordinated campaigns that target vulnerable residents, including seniors, to seize assets and force sales, which, by the way, back in the 60s, forced sales was called blockbusting. It was outlawed under the Civil Rights Act, and it has morphed into real estate mobbing. The FBI and real estate organizations have warned of fraudsters stealing land by recording forged deeds or quickly flipping parcels in rural locations. Who's sometimes involved? Opportunistic criminals, paper forgers, title fraud rings, real estate or closing service participants if they're corrupt, local middlemen or neighbors. Yes, definitely neighbors involved. And in rare but serious cases, complicit local actors like officials, law enforcement, or county attorneys. When local officials are complicit, it becomes both a criminal law and civil rights problem and is much harder to remedy locally. Number 2, immediate practical actions to protect safety and evidence. Do these things right away. Don't confront alleged perpetrators. Document everything daily. Date, timestamp notes of every contact incident, damaged property, missing items, names of witnesses, and vehicle descriptions. Photographs and videos with visible timestamps are crucial. Preserve your records. Save bank statements, which they've stolen from my house, right? Check images, title deeds, closing documents, emails, texts, social media messages, recorded voicemails. Check local law about recordings. Get certified copies of deeds, recorded instruments at the county recorder clerk's office. Get official public record searches. Pull chain of title, recorded documents, recorded mortgages, liens, probate records of an assessor, the PVA records. These show if a deed was recorded, who signed, and whether forgeries exist. See the FBI and NAR guidance on title fraud. Report to the right agencies. For elder financial exploitation and suspected collusion, there are Adult Protective Services in Kentucky, Adult Protective Services Hotline and APS, local law enforcement, but also report to federal authorities like the FBI and the Internet Crime Complaint Center if fraud is involved. In Kentucky, APS and the Kentucky Child Adult Abuse Hotline are starting points for exploitation of adults. Notify your title insurer, mortgage companies immediately if title or mortgage fraud is suspected. Freeze or monitor your finances. Place fraud alerts on credit reports. Consider a credit freeze and notify banks and credit unions. Avoid unilateral retaliation. Don't take actions that could jeopardize your civil or criminal case. No trespassing, no threats, no violence. So 3, how to prove organized or coordinated wrongdoing. Courts and investigators look for patterns of related misconduct and concrete predicate acts for RICO or similar civil causes, or individual criminal acts, fraud, forgery, theft, conspiracy, like stealing my New Jersey license plate, stealing my framed master's degree, stealing my check register, checkbook, right? These are individual criminal acts. Pattern and related acts. Demonstrate multiple related illegal acts over time. For RICO, civil RICO, you need a pattern. Oh, the pattern here is ridiculously evident. At least 2 predicate acts within 10 years that are related and show continuity. Use RICO guidance for details. Documentary evidence. Recorded deeds, notary records, closing escrow documents, bank records showing transfers, emails, texts indicating coordination, PVA assessor records showing targeted reassessments, and invoices for work or payments that look suspicious. Public records can show whether only one parcel was reassessed, adjusted, while neighbors were not. Forensic financial trails, bank transfers, checks, cashier checks, wire records, and patterns of payments that show theft or laundering. Hire a forensics accountant if needed. Witness statements and timelines, multiple independent witnesses or corroborating testimony, neighbors, tradespeople, title agents, and show concurrent conduct by the same group. The chain of title and notary validation. Compare signatures, notary certificates, and recording timestamps. Many deed fraud scams rely on forged signatures or false notary information. County recorders' certified copies are primary evidence. Communication showing intent. Emails, texts, social media messages that show agreement or a plan among the alleged actors. Expert reports. Notary experts, handwriting analysis, which I do, by the way. Land survey experts, if boundaries are disputed. Forensic accountants and title attorneys can provide admissible expert testimony tying the facts together, but not if they're complicit and if it's a conflict of interest, as it is here in Jackson County, Kentucky. If local officials, the sheriff, county lawyer, PVA, appear complicit, ChatGPT so smart, collect objective public records, attendance logs, filings, emails under open public record laws. Use formal record requests and appeals rather than relying on informational conversations. In Kentucky, the PVA appeal process requires a conference with the PVA and then successive administrative and judicial appeals if it's unresolved. Follow the statutory path and preserve a written record of each step. Legal remedies and enforcement channels, number 4. Criminal channels. If you have evidence of forgery, theft, or conspiracy, file criminal complaints with the local prosecutor's office and, if local actors are complicit, escalate to the state police, the state attorney general, or the FBI if there is land theft and wire fraud across federal lines. The FBI has specifically warned about land and title schemes. They will often investigate cross-jurisdictional fraud rings. Civil channels like RICO and fraud suits. Civil RICO allows civil remedies, treble damages, and attorney fees. Treble means 3 times the amount of damages. If you can plead an enterprise and a pattern of racketeering activity. RICO is complex, but it can be used where multiple participants conspire across predicate criminal acts. See the Department of Justice USSC primers and federal jury instructions for the pattern enterprise elements. There's the administrative appeals and local remedies. For suspected wrongful property reassessments or PVA misconduct, follow the statutory appeal process, which is a conference with the PVA, Local Board of Assessment Appeals, and the Kentucky Board of Tax Appeals, and then the Circuit Court. Keep meticulous records of what was or was not provided to neighbors. Kentucky Department of Revenue PVA documents explain the required steps and timelines. Then there's the elder abuse protections. Report to Adult Protective Services and consider... No, I wouldn't do that. Elder abuse. They're talking about other things here. I'm not even going to discuss it. Number 5, practical step-by-step plan that you can use. This is a concise checklist. Collect and copy certified deed copies, PVA files, assessor... Yeah, the PVA's not giving me any files. Assessor records, tax bills, bank statement. They're not giving me anything. Title insurance policies, closing packages. Photograph, videotape, all your damage, your trespassing signs. Keep duplicates and backups in cloud external drive. Oh, you mean like the bullet holes in my no trespassing sign that was then bent and taken down? That one, oh right. File an APS report if you're a senior and targeted. Get the report number. In Kentucky, use the Adult Protective Services hotline. I'm not going to do that. I'll do something else so that I won't be doing that. File a police report if you suspect broader fraud, like the FBI IC3 complaint. The FBI warns about land theft scams, and they can investigate. Request a conference with the PVA, which is a required initial step in the Kentucky appeals. Document the conference. If unsatisfied, appeal to the Board of Assessment Appeals and preserve administrative findings. Contact a real estate attorney or title attorney and a forensic accountant. If costs are concerned, ask about contingency arrangements or contact local clinics for initial advice. Consider a civil suit, fraud, quiet title action, RICO, if facts support a pattern, but only after consulting counsel. RICO is powerful, but fact-intensive. What you'll need to persuade investigators and prosecutors or a judge. A coherent timeline, tying actors to acts with dates, documents, and witnesses. Objective documentary proof, recorded deeds, bank transfers, PVA records. Forensic technical validations, notary checks, handwriting analysis, forensic accounting, where documents appear altered or transactions are hidden. Evidence of coordination, communication, payment between co-actors, consistent pattern across different events to show that it's not one-off dispute, but a coordinated scheme. RICO requires showing an enterprise and a pattern. Not every case qualifies. Number 7, safety, ethics, and the next steps. Prioritize the safety of the targeted senior. If immediate danger, call emergency services. Don't attempt to gather evidence in ways that break the law, like illegal recordings, trespassing, or theft. That would harm your case. Keep separate copies of everything and log who has access. If local officials are implicated, escalate to state agencies like the state police, the state attorney general, or federal authorities to avoid local conflicts of interest. The state and federal level can investigate corruption by local officials. Resources and documents to read. There's actually a document that it's called the FBI Advisory on Land Theft and Title Fraud. Then there's the NAR, the Realtor Consumer Guide to Protecting Yourself from Title Fraud. There's the Kentucky Department of Revenue, the PVA Appeals Procedures and Forms on how to request a conference and appeal property assessments. There's Kentucky Adult Protective Services reporting for elder exploitation. Department of Justice, USSC primers and federal resources on RICO and racketeering elements. So I thought that was interesting. And then I went into Google. I had DuckDuckGo and suddenly it switched to Google. And I asked about organized crime in rural Kentucky. And this is an AI overview. Organized crime in rural Kentucky is historically associated with the cornbread mafia, a large-scale marijuana trafficking ring that operates across the state and surrounding areas. While this group's major bust was in the late 1980s, the history highlights how rural areas can be used for large-scale criminal operations. More recently, various types of gangs and criminal organizations, such as motorcycle clubs, have also been a presence in the state. The Cornbread Mafia was a large, homegrown marijuana trafficking syndicate that operated from central Kentucky and stretched across several states. The group was busted in a major federal operation in the late 1980s. The name was publicly revealed by federal prosecutors in 1989. The group's history has been chronicled by its members and journalists, including in the book called The Cornbread Mafia. Beyond the Cornbread Mafia, other criminal organizations have been active in Kentucky, including motorcycle clubs like the Grim Reapers Motorcycle Club. And then it references a Wikipedia page on gangs in Kentucky. So I thought that was interesting, finding out about organized crime in Kentucky, just organized crime in general. So basically, let me just scroll up here. 1 second. Yes, so organized crime is organized, coordinated wrongdoing in rural areas. Who's involved? Practical steps. The common schemes in rural areas include title deed fraud, land stealing scams, coordinated trespassing and theft, asset stripping, collusive manipulation of local property processes, extortion, pay to leave, yeah, please pay me to leave, harassment, illegal dumping or theft of timber, minerals, and coordinated campaigns that target vulnerable residents, seniors, to seize assets and force sales. So I know that there are several testimonies of women that this has happened to. where you have had property, real estate mobbing. So leave a comment down below if this has happened to you, or if you know of anybody that has experienced rural organized crime. So this is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. Remember to hit the thumbs up, and thank you all newcomers for subscribing and listening to all the videos. It helps the channel grow and it gets the message out there.